Tonight, a devastated American family has left Belize behind, perhaps forever. For them, it will forever be a place that caused them the most unimaginable pain. Their 23-year-old daughter, Jabria, was with her family on a Belizean vacation in San Pedro to celebrate her dad's birthday. But all that changed on Friday night at 9:30 when what should have been a celebratory night turned tragic as Jabria was unwittingly caught in the line of gunfire. A 7 News team was on the first flight out on Saturday morning. Cherie Salsal followed the case straight through the New Year's weekend, and tonight she brings us this story.
Jabria Bowen and her family were sitting right here last night, enjoying a cool Belizean night after a birthday dinner for her dad. But that's when a gunman saw his target buying food from this stall. Eyewitnesses told us he indiscriminately sprayed gunfire, endangering cooks, patrons and their families, and ultimately killing the 23-year-old tourist.
What I saw last night when I was working at the park, I saw this guy come with a fisherman hat on with ski mask in a black, I see him walk away the bag to halfway to the Christmas tree and look towards Jaguar. I look like he saw his target who he come after. When he see it, he walk back towards the bathroom at the park and put the black bag down and haul out a machine, AK gun, and just come back towards the same Christmas tree where I stand up first and point it towards Jaguar. And a lot of people made it there, and he just open spray and end up shoot a young lady on a golf cart, which is American, and spray the gun, just shoot it like no sense, and look like he didn't catch a target, but catch somebody else, and end up run back in at the park and gone wrong to our areas by chicken drop, and end up shoot again, and look like he jump in a boat and just take off and gone.
But as terror struck, the public square parkgoers, San Pedranos and foreigners alike, took refuge in the nearby Catholic church. Local pastor Father Eduardo Montemayor says he stood at the door calling them inside. It was only when the dust settled that he started to walk toward the scene and Jabria Bowen's terrorized family.
So at that moment, I immediately tried to pray for her. She seemed, I took her pulse, she didn't have a pulse at that moment. So I just entrusted her soul to God. I gave her the anointing and entrusted her soul to God. At the same time, her family members were, well, let's see if we can maybe resuscitate her. So immediately we started sort of shouting and screaming for a truck, some sort of truck to carry her. And so at that moment, the police officers brought a truck, and so we carried her to the back of the truck and, pleading that they take her as fast as they can to the polyclinic to see if maybe they could resuscitate her and save her life.
So let me ask you, when you start walking toward the scene, how much terror is there within you at that moment?
Yeah, I wasn't afraid, but I wasn't afraid, but I was very concerned, obviously, for those that might have been hurt. I thought maybe children or somebody else. There was a lot of children. There was a lot of families just hanging out here in the park, playing in the park, and when this kind of violence happens, it's just a shock to the entire community.
And it isn't the first time a guest has been caught in the crossfire of a San Pedro dispute. 3 years ago, it was American doctor Gary Swank who died at the hands of a gunman who silenced him after his fly fishing guide was murdered before his eyes. But what happened this time? Sir, anything the investigation has revealed about what the dispute is between the shooter and the intended target?
They have a long-standing beef over drugs and other issues. Yeah, I guess you have heard about the different fractions in San Pedro and the intense rivalry they had before. Much has been done to allay that issue. But again, when they find opportunity, they try to take it. And I believe that one group saw the opportunity last night, took it, but they still failed and end up killing an innocent person.
Jabria was innocent and unusually kind. That's according to the waiter she asked to sing her dad happy birthday, less than an hour before she was killed.
After they had dinner and everything, she came to find me again all the way in the service here, and she came to thank me for that happy birthday and said they made their night. Right before they left, they told us peace, and that's what they did, and they went on with their night. Well, working in this industry, I always learn to appreciate kind people. We deal with a lot of different people, so some people are not the nicest, and I can say that she was definitely a sweet girl, so that's what kind of struck me, you know.
Guerrero's boss, Chef Jenny Stain, says she saw the family drive off, but couldn't have known the horror that awaited them in the park. But she had her suspicions.
All the business community, the whole of San Pedro, the families, everybody's so hurt, but it was something like I personally feel that was coming, because lately the front of San Pedro has been really, I don't want to say that it's ghetto, but by Jaguars, the whole ambience around it for the past months hasn't been a pleasant one like before. Like me personally, I don't go to the park anymore because of the ambience. Because before I would go and relax a little at the park and then go home because it's fresh and everything, but the ambience lately hasn't been nice, too much. You know the bad people. San Pedro is a very small town, and right now it's like mourning this young lady, which was so, from the workers, I know she was a big-hearted person, and that family is going to remember this day for the rest of their life. It was her dad's birthday. I plead to the authorities to do something about it because they know exactly what's going on. Please help us, because this is going to affect the whole tourism industry.
I am concerned that if the gangs are using the rehab lounge or Jaguar as like a hub for them, then we must demand that that be permanently closed. If it's going to be used as a club for gang, as a hub for gang members. This should be a family-friendly place. We need police protection, a booth or something here permanently. And if anything is a magnet or attracting these gang members to form this as a hub, then that needs to be eliminated. This needs to be a safe place where people can come, families can come and just enjoy themselves.
And what's curious about the community's fears is the fact that they certainly had no immediate effect. New Year's Eve saw tourists strolling, taking smiling pictures, and preparing to celebrate. You couldn't know from these sunny pictures that anything at all had happened in San Pedro. Still, the commissioner is taking anything but a nonchalant approach. On Saturday, he told 7 News that things in San Pedro were going to change.
My instructions to the team that is coming out is that these gang members, we have 3 pockets of gangs in San Pedro. These gang members must not be allowed to breathe, sleep, or eat in peace. Every move they make, the police must be on them. And I'm sending out a team specifically to deal with them. And I hope, Cherise, that when the police come and deal with them, and they run to Channel 7 to complain about police brutality, that will not chase them. Because at the end of the day, as a society, we must know when enough is enough.
But more than vengeance, the town priests called for atonement.
And I think when innocent blood is shed on our streets, as a town, that cries out to God for vengeance. And we as a town need to make atonement for when innocent blood is shed like this, especially because they are our guests. They are our visitors here. And we have a sacred duty to protect our visitors and our guests.
Reporting from San Pedro town, Cherise Halsall, 7 News.
Bowens' post-mortem indicates that her cause of death was a shot to the neck. And while eyewitnesses told us they saw one shooter this morning, the commissioner told us that there were 2 gunmen. Here's how the Compol put it.
What led to the incident in front of Jaguars, there was a member of one of the groups in San Pedro at the Jaguar nightclub. I guess he was purchasing food. And apparently, one of the rivaling groups may have seen him there and came for him. From what we gathered is that while they were shooting at him, the tourist was on a golf cart and was in a direct line of firing. And unfortunately, she was caught. Now, that should not bring any comfort to the family or us. The fact is that it's a life lost and the life of someone who was here visiting our country. And that makes it even worse for us. From the statements we obtained from witnesses, there were 3 suspects.
3 suspects, but that does not mean that all of them...
2 had weapons.
Okay, so 2 people fired guns.
Yes.
And
the 2 that fired guns are the ones we have in custody who have been charged.
okay, and so there was an escape boat?
Yes.
Are you able to state specifically how many rounds were fired from what you all were able to find out, and did they use an assault rifle?
I'm not going to say the amount of rounds fired, but yes, an assault rifle was used. And from what we gathered is that the shooters came from along the beach and they had those dive bags that divers would normally use that have the dive equipments. And they walked into the park, and when they saw the person of interest, they put the bag down, opened it, took out the firearms, and opened fire towards him.
And 2 of the murder suspects, 24-year-old Delson Paguada and 33-year-old Lucio Salazar, were jointly arraigned in Belize City's Magistrates Court today for Jabria's murder. The duo were brought in from the island because there was no magistrates there. In the city, they appeared before Magistrate Denison Manan, who remanded them to the Belize Central Prison until March 3rd, 2023. And also in court today was Delson Paguada's younger brother, Tion. He was read a single charge of escape from lawful custody and offered $500 bail, which he was able to meet. One notable condition of his bail, however, is that he may not leave the country without the permission of the court. Tion Paguada's next court date is set for March 3rd, 2023, the same day his older brother and Lucio Salazar are set to return. Still at large and wanted by police for questioning in connection to the murder is San Pedro resident Alfredo Trapp. And before he was charged, Tion Paguada posted a scathing Facebook Live where he made many wild and slanderous claims against senior police officers. He did this after he had escaped from the police while going to the restroom. Today, the commissioner says he didn't watch the video, but his lawyer did.
I certainly will not dignify his comments with a response. In terms of but I'll just say that the video recording has been sent to an attorney, and I am hoping that he will have the evidence to prove in court what he is asserting.
Owens and the Ramner Race brothers a little after midnight and bled out in the middle of the street. But according to his family, Budna was not a troublemaker. On the contrary, he was a young cook who had just started working in the kitchen at the Riverside Tavern. Now, those closest to him are asking, who would do this and why?
Only 30 minutes into the new year, Belize recorded its first murder, and the victim is 24-year-old Lionel Budna. He was heading home on the Central American Boulevard on his bicycle when, only a couple lanes away, he was gunned down.
Budna was killed on New Year's morning on Central American Boulevard near its junction with Farbers Road. And again, apparently he was out there with some friends when gunmen came from out of the Muslim school compound and opened fire at him. He was taken to the hospital, and again, he was pronounced dead on arrival. So that matter, likewise, is being investigated. We believe it's gang-related. At this time, we don't have a suspect.
After he was shot, he tried running away, but ended up collapsing on the median. And now his home, only a stone's throw away from the crime scene, sports a black bow as his family mourns. According to his sister-in-law, Budna was not known to cause problems. He just wanted to work and make money.
To say if make him get shot, that was no to me, because he was not a bad person. He was a working person from work to home. He's never a trouble person or nothing like that. He into his own family. When he get time, he said, "P, make we go up there, mama. Make we go hear my sister, my nephew, my niece there." All of the young boys just work to home and try and make your life better. So I don't know why. That's my question. Why they shut him? You know, a person, not anybody could ask him for anything, and he will give. If they last, he will give, and he look out for anybody. So I don't know why they do it. It really left me puzzling and shocked when I really hear the news, because to be honest, he came like Christmas time and come tell me like, sis, I happy, I get promoted. You make I get promoted, but this week I collect my thing, and then I will look out for you this week. Then this was a collapse to him and to me, where he was so excited because he loved the kitchen. He loved the kitchen. His supervisor called, the manager called and said, he said, P, he remind me of you when you made a day. He said he cooked that nice coconut milk rice and he make a cow food soup today. You know? So that, like I say, I want to know where really going wrong with this. All I just want the family where we the mourn right now get justice and find who do it. All I want is I just want a closure to see who do it.
Courtney Menzies, 7 News.
Budna had no children but treated his nieces and nephews as his own. And just like Budna, police also believe that the second murder for 2023 was gang-related. 27-year-old Gilberto Martinez had just moved to Hilda Street after the hurricane, and just after midnight this morning, he heard someone knocking on his door. When he answered it, he saw two men, one of them wielding a firearm. The gunman then opened fire, and Martinez was shot 14 times. Today, the Commissioner of Police told us what the police know so far.
In terms of the shooting or the murder in Belize City, this morning around 3 a.m., police responded to information of shots fired on the Hilda Street in the Antelope Street Extension area, where they saw the lifeless body of one Gilberto Martinez. He was taken to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. At this time, police are still searching for a motive, as well as those persons who may be responsible for that latest murder. As soon as additional information in respect to that murder is received, we will be more than happy to share with you, the members of the media.
There are reports that Martinez's murder stemmed from a Facebook comment on a post about a previous murder victim. However, when we asked the commissioner, he said that he had not heard that angle as yet. Martinez had one child. Hilda Street is around the corner from Pitter Street, which saw multiple murders last year. When we come back, we'll take a break from all that bad news and show you the first new babies of 2023 at the K8M8 Plus. Presenio accused Brads of breach for contract.
Belize, you're watching the Nation Station, Channel 7.
The government of Belize is gearing up for a fight with the Brad's Gaming Group, the company that operates your Bolido and Sunday jackpot. 7 News has obtained a letter dated December 23rd, where chairperson of the Lotteries Committee, Narda Garcia, is basically accusing Brad's of breach of contract. She outlines 12 main complaints they have with the way Brad's Gaming Group Limited has been handling the Bolido lottery. Among the issues raised in the 5-page letter, Garcia notes that for tickets, licensees must sell and use tickets in the form prescribed by the Lotteries Committee. She says that Brad's does not use and sell tickets prescribed by the committee. She then moves on to tickets mark, where another condition is that lottery tickets sold must bear the mark lodged with the Lotteries Committee. She then points out that BGGL has not lodged a mark with the committee. The letter goes on to point out that a licensee must establish a system in tandem with the Income Tax Department and the Lotteries Committee to gather sales data. Garcia asserts that BGGL has yet to consult with the Lotteries Committee on this system. The committee is unaware if and how Brad's collects, verifies, and records accurate sales data. Garcia then points to their complaint that all licensees are expected to submit a statement of monthly revenues to the Commissioner of Income Tax, a report that should be copied to the Lotteries Committee. Those statements must include information on sales, commissions paid out to agents, and expenses. In addition, by the end of the financial year, a licensee is expected to produce a statement showing how the government's share of the profit has been calculated. On this matter, Chairperson Garcia points out to Kim Chi that in November of 2021, BGGL provided monthly reports for the period between March 31st, 2020 and October 31st, 2021. However, she alleges that in some cases, the monthly reports are done more than a year after the date they should have been provided. Garcia then moves on to another regulation that obliges all licensees to hire an independent lottery expert to audit the lottery process and equipment yearly. She says, quote, since the grant of the license, BGGL has not attempted to obtain the approval of the Lotteries Committee to contract an independent lottery expert, end quote. She then turns to what the committee insists is a failure to implement electronic access or handheld systems for customers to get access to the Bolido. She closes off her letter by pointing out that the committee intends to consider revoking BGGL's license. They have until January 16, 2023 to provide a written response to why they may dispute the alleged breaches. This morning we reached out to Dean Barrow, the attorney representing BGGL, and he told us we are consulting with our clients and have no comments at this time. So far, the news has been weighed down by heavy stories of grief and bloodshed, but we take a break from that for some lighter news. For the first time in KHMH's history, the first 3 babies born for the new year have all been bouncing baby boys, and they also came a little later than usual. The first baby, Quincy Laiva, didn't arrive until 1:30 in the afternoon. The second baby, Samuel Lino, was born about 4.5 hours later, and the third, AC Cuellar, came 2 hours after that. The mother, whose ages range from 22 to 26, all explained that they never expected to give birth on January 1st, but were grateful for the gifts they received. We spoke to them today at KHMH's maternity ward.
It was a surprise to me because, like I said, his due date was December 27th, so he was to come a long time ago. He just decided to show up with no previous trouble until New Year's Day. When I reached the hospital, I asked if anybody else had already had baby, and they was like, nope, I was the only one that walked in. So it was kind of exciting. It was... It's a blessing, definitely a blessing for him to be the first baby of the year. My first blessing of the year. Yeah, it makes me feel like there are going to be so many other good things that are going to happen for 2023 for us. Definitely very grateful because it's a lot. They definitely come in handy because, you know, kids are expensive, especially in these times. So everything definitely is greatly appreciated.
I'm just excited to meet him, to be honest. As I said, he is going to be my last. So I'm just ready to meet him and welcome him into the world. I will let him know that he came into the world and all the gift and everything that he was given, and just all the experience that we had. I honestly never expected him to come for New Year's. I thought he was going to come before that because I started with contraction from the 29th, which was a Thursday. And I'm just thinking about December basically, and then I think he might be the one of the New Year's baby. I feel really, really blessed, to be honest, because they get stuff that I know that in the longer run that we will need, and I have to think about buying it right now, especially with the pricing and the raise of everything. So I just feel blessed to get in all these gifts and everything.
It was a surprise to me. He due the 9th of January, so he came early.
Is this your first child?
Yes, this is my first child.
So how do you feel being a brand new mother on the new year?
It's amazing feeling. I just want to thank God that I could have experienced this journey. I'm grateful for all the love and appreciation and congratulations that everyone is giving me.
And this year's packages had everything the young moms will need for their newborn babies. The representatives from two of the donors told us more.
And what better way to start the new year with the celebration of life? And at the core, what we do is family protection, right? So celebrating life is definitely one of them. So we wanted to reach out and, just to make welcome, especially one of the babies we understand is the only boy or the first boy in his family, right? So definitely cause for celebration.
The package includes?
Diapers, you could never have enough of that. Tub and clothes and other newborn stuff.
We'd like to say that this is a yearly thing for Suncast. We've been doing this for over 20 plus years. And we are not only giving the first baby, but we gave all 4 of the baby boys. We gifted them. And what we also do is we call all the hospitals in the different district. And once they've had a baby born for the new year, we gift that baby as well, because it's not necessarily means that the KHMH baby is the overall first. So it's also a good information to know that who is the overall baby for the new year. So we're gonna do that today, and hopefully we can get that information. The package contains a starter kit that every mom needs: Huggies diapers, wipes, Kotex products. Of course, Ovaltine to help the mom with the breastfeeding. We also, over the years have ensure that we give that product because the KHMH encourages breastfeeding, of course. So the Ovaltine as well helps the mom. We give 7 C's for the mommy to help her build her immune system. And of course, we've added sanitary products in there, the Lysol wipes, Dettol soaps and things like that, because we know COVID is still around.
For Liva and Bermudez, this is their second child. Notably, the 4th baby born on January 1st was also a boy. Moving on to politics, in his New Year's address, leader of the opposition, Shine Barrow, made an unusual move. He basically scolded the government and the police department for not bringing criminal charges against his party's own Belmopan convention candidate. Here's what he said and how the commissioner responded today.
The commissioner of police said that he was going to investigate Mr. John Saldiva. This is the second investigation, and yet we have not gotten any report back from the commissioner of police. But when Mr. Julius Espat wanted Mr. Rennie Montero arrested and charged, it happened on the speed. So we await the commissioner of police and the DPP's decision on the allegations of Mr. John Saldiva, where he was heard in a recording admitting to willful suppression. So the opposition is doing their part, but the government continues to fail. And I am losing confidence in the Commissioner of Police day by day.
But I heard the address by the Honorable Barrow in respect to the Saldiva matter. And I have said publicly that we are looking into it. We have recording a number of statements, and he tries to equate that to the Montero incident. With the Montero incident, it was fully local. There was no need to get nothing from any external law enforcement agency. And so it would be logical for one to accept that the process is going to be longer. If a matter of fact, his own chairman said that they have wrote to the State Department requesting certain information, and they have not received it. So for him to say what he said, I found to be very disingenuous. And if it is that he have lost confidence in me, I believe he have lost in his own self-confidence. So I will say no more.
At the top of the news, we provided extensive coverage of the aftermath of the holiday weekend double murder in Belmopan. The brothers, 38-year-old John Ramnares and 29-year-old David Ramnares, were killed by a gunman who was caught on camera. Police have since charged one of their own, Corporal Elmer Na, for the outrageous crime. The beloved Ramnares brothers were treated to the same execution-style slaying reserved for notorious street figures, but all the information we've seen suggests that they were law-abiding citizens. And that's why the Wildlife Conservation Society is choosing to remember John Ramnares for his positive contributions to conservation in Belize. He joined their team as a technology specialist who brought his knowledge and expertise to enhance the work of his conservation colleagues. Our news team met him in February of 2019 when marine conservationists are deploying aerial and underwater drones. For context, we take you back to demonstrate his love for technology and conservation, and then you'll hear what his boss at the Belize chapter of the Wildlife Conservation Society had to say about his impact.
What we have here is an aerial drone. This one is called the DJI Mavic Pro. We have been recommending this for our conservation work both in the terrestrial and the marine environments. The reason why we went with this drone is because it is very portable. You can actually fold this up and it would essentially fit in your pant pocket. We find that the rangers really like this because they're already carrying a lot of load.
John was different than most of our team because he really came from a different background than conservation. So he brought a new perspective. He came with an IT background, an information technology background. He had experience with the Red Cross and providing relief support, and he had experience, of course, with software and different IT systems. So we were looking for that. We were looking for someone to support the small-scale fisheries component of our work, the sustainable fisheries arm, supporting our lead technical coordinator, Mr. Maz, to roll out programs or initiatives and innovations around technology, and that would support Belize on a national scale at marine protected areas and forest protected areas. So he had a lot of field work experience while he was with us for 6 years. And he got to know all the marine NGOs and the staff. So this really is a loss across the board for the conservation community. This is a loss for Belize because he was a good man, and we remember him for his love of not just the technology and the excitement of the new tech, but for his family, for the various things he was interested in, cooking, food, sports, cycling, and so motorbikes. So he was really well-rounded with his experiences, and we learned a lot from him. The team always was able to rely and count on him for support.
A press release from the WCS says, quote, John brought his gregarious nature, enthusiasm, and technology competency to our conservation programs, supporting many national initiatives intended to help safeguard Belize's marine and terrestrial resources, end quote. And apart from having John's memory honored, the Ramnerace family will also get to approve a special prosecutor to lead the murder, attempted murder, use of deadly means of harm, and dangerous harm case against Corporal Elmer Na. That is necessary because the Director of Public Prosecutions, Sherilyn Vidal, is married to former senior cop Marco Vidal, who is Na's uncle. Minister of Home Affairs Kareem Musa discussed why they have decided that government must hire a special prosecutor.
When I learned that Elmer Na was the prime suspect in this case, that immediately I contacted the Prime Minister to get his blessing, because in this case, while it is that the DPP may on her own want to recuse herself from this case because of her relationship through marriage, we are taking no chances, and in fact, we will be hiring a special prosecutor for this case. Of course, in conjunction with the family. They must be satisfied as well with the selection to prosecute this case. So you can be rest assured that a special prosecutor will be hired for this case.
And in other unusual step, police are looking at the possibility that a witness protection program may be employed to protect the witnesses in this explosive case. The commissioner said today that they are talking to Trinidad.
There have been calls for the surviving victims to be given witness protection, and I know that's always been a challenge here. What can be offered?
We certainly, and I discussed just prior to coming here with the minister, we are in dialogue with Trinidad for an exchange witness protection program. So it is something that we can throw to the family if they would be willing to relocate to another area. It doesn't have to be Trinidad. We'll also talk with the U.S. Embassy to see if they can provide something for us. But we will do whatever is necessary to ensure the safety of the victims, the surviving victims.
But now that police and the government are entertaining all these special measures, it's because the alleged killer in this case is a policeman turned hitman, if the accusation is accurate. But how does one go from a civil officer sworn to serve and protect to a super predator killing men and shooting women two at a time? What is the culture that breeds such monsters? Well, that's what we asked the Compo today.
Police officers are your brothers, your fathers, your children, your uncles, your aunts, your husbands, your wives. They are creatures born on earth. They were not sent from heaven and placed on earth to be police. So they are susceptible to the ills of society. Yes, we try as best as we can to transform them from that ordinary civilian lifestyle to that of a police. But you would know human nature will require that there are going to be those who, no matter the level of training you give them, no matter how much training you give them, they will just be who they are. And it's a matter for when they manifest themselves that we deal with them. It's just that. There's nothing we can do to stop rogue police. There will always be rogue police. But what we can make sure of is that whenever they manifest themselves, that we hold them accountable for it.
So as you've seen throughout the news tonight, the police had a terrible New Year's weekend, which ended with 5 murders. But this evening, Police Commissioner Chester Williams had legitimate reasons to smile for the cameras when he received a donation of 4 utility terrain vehicles from the Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations. It's a donation valued at $140,000, and we got to speak with him at the short handing over event. Here's what he had to say.
let me give thanks to the Minister of Tourism and the BTB for this very generous contribution. It came at a time when it is most urgently needed. As you would have heard in the press conference this morning, we made mention of the fact that we're looking to enhance the police services, particularly in the areas where tourism exists. And these equipments will certainly help to boost, one, the police morale, and two, it will enhance the police ability to respond to the needs of the people, and as well as to do preventative patrols in rugged terrains. You'll know that North Ambergris Ski is an area with rugged terrain, and so having a motorcycle or a golf cart or a vehicle is not adequate or will not serve its time. We believe that these UTVs will be rugged enough to withstand the terrain in those particular areas. So we're grateful for it, and I assured the Minister that the police will do what we must to ensure that this equipment lasts as long as they possibly can.
The Commissioner told us that 2 of the UTVs will go to San Pedro for tough patrols in northern and southern Ambergris Ski. 1 will go to the police in Kikoka, and the final will go to the police patrolling the Caracol Reserve in the Caillou district. The cops are waiting for a donation of 2 outboard engines for their police boats, which should come from 2 elected politicians. And that's all we have for you for tonight. Thanks for watching. With your news, I'm Indira Craig. Remember, you can find a full transcript of the news at 7newsbelize.com and see streaming video on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Join me back here tomorrow at 6. Until then, have a great night.